Some days you ever just want to do this with a turret to someone right in their face? Well, now you can with this build for Amon with unlimited ammo in Borderlands 4. This is a crazy ordnance build for Amon that lets you fire infinitely as long as you're hitting target. Now, this is a combination of a few different things here in our skill tree. Now, there's actually purple class mods that work flawlessly here, and you can use any ordnance in the game. Now, there's actually a lot of purples and blues that are actually extremely powerful. I'll be breaking all that down here, but we're actually going to be using a synergy here between the blue and the red skill trees. Using the Primal Surge here, we're actually able to restore our ammo and our shields, and then get over shield from dealing ordnance damage, basically making us unkillable. We can also get critical hit chance off on this, so the Tail of the Comet's going to be a massive source for our damage. Whenever we deal ordnance damage, there's a chance to apply a cryo status effect, which does apply the Primal Surge. And to go a further step here, we're going to be also using Berserk, and there is only red, as this adds a crazy extra boost to cryo damage. So this will actually scale very well in overall damage, and it's really tanky because there's a lot of actually skills that are going to give us more shields, and we get shields back every time we shoot someone with our turret. So we're going to start off from level 1 here and explain the choices and why we're going to be choosing them. Now, Scourge Kairos, just the best. This is going to give us an increase to our overall, to our magazine size and ordnance damage by 30% each. And with a class mod, you can actually get that up pretty high. You can get upwards of 60% increases here, which is nice if you get the +5 on that one. Now, at this point here, the, again, biggest source of our damage is going to be the Tail of the Comet here. So whenever we deal ordnance damage, we get the cryo status effect damage. And that ends up being 60% of damage dealt per second, which is actually really nice. If you can get rolls up from a class mod that's going to boost this up with a +5, that will give you the highest possible damage here. I also think the chironic thumb here is actually one of the best choices, because whenever you get this, it's going to taunt enemies, deal ordnance damage over time, and it's not bad overall. Now, you may think to continue down here and take the ancient ways. Getting increased crowd damage is nice, especially when we have so many abilities that are going to do crowd damage, but I don't think this is the best way to actually build this. It's a little bit better to take actually Battleborns. We get increased gun damage the more full our health. So yeah, you can see upwards of 20% extra damage, and that's 40% extra damage when we're at full health. That is really good, and that gun damage will actually get applied to our ordnance from our specializations. So if this ends up being higher DPS, I've tested it. You can take this if you want, but I found much greater success from actually just sticking with these ones here. Now, as we're going to get down into this skill tree, I would actually recommend, so we want to get down to this skill tree. We don't want a Capstone, but we're going to take 1 point in Blackout so we get the chance to critically hit. This one's currently bugged where it won't actually give you increases past 1 point into this. That's why we're only going to take a single point here. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to take Icy Rage. So kill skill, whenever we take out an enemy with cryo damage from guns or status effects, will grant a stack of cryo affinity for a duration, which grants increased gun damage. So that's 6.25 per stack with 5 stacks, giving a big boost to our damage. That ends up being 31.25% extra damage, which is better than the increased slow chance right here. So that's not really, this one's not that good. Now, I actually recommend then taking Primal Surge. So this is, the reason this build works is whenever we deal a status effect to an enemy, there's a chance to partially restore our shield and ammo. 25% chance, which if we're using certain items, this is really quick how we'll get our ammo back. And I don't think any of these choices here actually give us a pretty reasonable increase or DPS. We're just going to ignore them and then switch over to the red skill tree. Now, this is where things come together because I like the impetus here. Kill skill, get increased shield regeneration and movement speed for a duration. Increase in 9% movement speed per stack, and that's 3 stacks. That's actually a nice amount of movement speed, which actually helps out with survivability quite a bit. And then we're going to take 2 points into the heavy plate. If you don't like that, you can put all points into that. The discombobulate doesn't actually help us here, and fire damage boosts are not that great. So if you don't want the impetus, put all the points in the heavy plate here. Now, once we get down to this level, we're actually going to take 1 point into the gut punch. So our ordnance damage has a 10% chance of applying a debuff on the enemy. It makes them deal 40% less damage to us, and we do 20% more damage to them. With a turret, we apply this in 1 second, so do not take more than 1 point in this. And then we can put some points into the Wield the Storm here, giving us increased status effect damage and status effect duration, which can be pretty decent on our cryo damage. You can alternatively then take the full points into the heavy plate there because more overshield, we actually get overshield from our ordnances. So that's really nice. And then you can just put 1 point into that there. And then we're going to get down here to take, actually, there's a couple choices. The Bulletstorm is our best option. However, you can take 1 point in Forged and Steel, which makes it so that when we do our Firewall, which gives us a boost to our damage when we shoot through it, which is just crazy. We want to use this. We then become immune to all damage for 6 seconds. This is great, especially if there's a boss and you know there's going to be a devastating attack coming. You can give yourself that immunity, which is super useful. However, this is really good here. 7.5% extra gun damage whenever we apply a status effect, and we apply them often with cryo damage. So that ends up being a huge boost to our DPS. And again, gun damage boosts get applied to our ordnances. Now we're going to get down to Berserk here. This is just the best choice to take. So whenever we do our use our Forge skill, Firewall, we go into Berserk, gaining slow immunity and bonus cryo damage with gun and melee damage. So that's nice. It's the there is only red that really ties this all together. With our final 3 points, it's almost as if it's perfect because it's all the points that we need here. And whenever we take on an enemy while Berserk is active, we partially restore Berserk's duration, increase bonus cryo damage from Berserk. So 60% extra cryo damage per kill to a maximum of 600% extra cryo damage on top of the bonus 30% that you get there. This is extremely good. So this pairs together very well. And as mentioned, we get some bonuses here, like the full spectrum arsenal. Ordnance damage now benefits from increases to gun damage. So again, we only get half of those increases, but there's some that add like 31.25%. There's ones that add like 40% extra gun damage. And then with any specializations, enhancements, and items that you may grab, that also adds that bonus to the ordnance damage. We also like to take the fragmented payload here. This will give you a chance to critically hit with your ordnances and then get increased critical hit damage on them. And then we'll take rid of you this. So this increases the gun damage the more we fire at an enemy. So we're actually going to get max stacks of this really quickly. That's 50% extra gun damage or 25% extra on our ordnance as well. And then I also like to take the best defense. This just gives a flat out 30% increase to our gun damage or our damage dealt. And we're going to get that often because we're going to have full shields because of our skills that we chose that give us that overshield. This, I guess, is from a class mod, so this does help right here with the Ballistic Bulwark, which gives overshield when you deal ordnance damage, 6% of the ordnance damage dealt. And then I also have an ability from my class mod here, the Endless Bombardment, which gives grenades a chance to refund themselves on use, and 1% or on heavy ordnances, 1 ammo on damaging enemies, 18% chance of happening. This does help out quite a bit. And I guess that's just going to lead us right into class mods, which I like this one a lot. The Calculating Cyborg here that I got has 20% increased gun damage, or damage dealt, so that decreases ordnance damage. This also gives a plus 10% ordnance critical hit chance and 45% ordnance damage. And it also came with the Gadget's Ahoy, which is great. But those rolls are really what made it best because we get the Endless Bombardment, which we normally would not have access to, taking both blue and the red skill tree. And then it also gives us some nice ones here, getting increased ordnance damage and magazine size, and then the overshield on that as well. So that's really my favorite for the class mod there. You can go with some of these other ones here. I just don't think that they'll be that great. Like this one here, allowing you to do your forge skill again. The forge skill is great because since we're not taking a cap skill, I want to mention that again. This one doesn't help us at all. This is actually pretty bad. With Firewall, we get the ability to add 25% extra damage onto our explosion. So that's huge. And then our friendlies will actually get a 50% increase in the speed of this as well. So this boosts up our team and ourselves. Firewall is just really good. So that's why I like that. And being able to use it again with the Forge Master is really nice too. The rest of these don't really actually make a big difference. It's all about the rolls that you can get on these class mods here. So purples are best on this build. Now for the shield, there's a few really fun choices, like the Onion for the shield blocking all damage for 2 seconds when it breaks. We have the Watch for Dinner here, adding 25% shock damage with overshield, and we get overshield from our ordnance damage, so this is really good. And this also has the Siphon, which can give you overshield as well. So that's a good roll. Super Soldier, always a good choice, giving you increased fire rate and movement speed and ammo regeneration. This might actually be the best choice here. It's just really good. And also we can get the overshield with the Siphon from this one, which is really, really nice. And if you can find a Watch for Dinner that has the one that's going to drain its shield whenever you deal damage, that can be pretty effective as well. And Cinder Chili's not bad, just not my first choice. Now, as for enhancements, we want ones that have the gun damage increase, because that's 25% gun damage. That's 12.5% extra ordnance damage. This is pretty decent. Also increase the gun magazine size, which ends up applying to our ordnances as well. Really just look for ones that have gun damage increases. This one here has a Jacob's License accessory, which allows you to bounce around extra bullets, which is really nice, especially because I am using a few different Jacob's weapons here. Now for ordnances, this is where it all comes together, because I am going to be using, this is a turret build, so I'm going to use the Atling gun here. You can get a lot of different rolls on it. You can get some that are elemental, some that are not. I personally just like this one here. It's got nearly 30k DPS, which is huge. And then there's some that are purple, which are also really good. This one has explosive rounds, and it has 2-shot, which is really effective too. So this one can be effective as well. Then we also have the Tongue Wag, which is a rocket launcher. This basically destroys bosses in Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. Rocket Sock is kind of nice too. Then we have the Streamer if you're fighting against multiple enemies at a time, because this will fire a big beam that can shred through them. And Bottled Lightning is also great for mobbing too. So those are my choices, but we're going to go with I'm going to even just show off this one here. I like the Atling gun or the Udka. Now, triple bypass is going to be the best choice here. I like ones that can increase our splash damage, gives us 25% extra splash damage for 10 seconds after using this. There's also ones that'll amp and give you 200% extra damage, which is okay. What's great about splash damage is this one does splash damage. Now for weapons. Since we can regenerate ammo, getting anything with the Torg lace and stickies are great, because this increases gun damage by 3% each, 5 pellets per shot. That's 15% extra damage for every shot that we can get. That scales up. So if you can get infinite ammo and actually get really lucky with this, you can one-shot every boss in the game. Wombo combo, especially with cryo efficiency, great choice. You also can take a wombo combo with radiation. I like that too. I also have the hot slugger here. It's just one of the best guns in the game. Easy to use, critical hits, and gives us upwards of 90% extra damage. So using this gun can actually boost up our ordnances quite a bit. The Chaosin, again, similar to the Bod, just crazy huge damage. And Queen's Rest is also included in those guns. I also like to add in something like the Katagawa's Revenge. It actually works pretty well here. And then you can also use the Oscar Mike if you got the one with the space laser, because the damage from that is nuts. But we're, again, mostly going to be using our ordnances. And when it comes to combat, we always want to put down our fire shield here. So that's really good, because this will then, whenever we pull out our grenades, it'll fire it up and allow us to shoot even faster through this. And you can see we're actually destroying this boss in Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. This works against vault bosses. We get that infinite ammo as long as we're hitting targets. So yeah, you can shoot forever. We don't need the firewall, though. You can actually use, as mentioned, other weapons. Like, this isn't a Gatling gun or a turret, but it's a rocket launcher that's shooting pretty much as if it were one. And you see there, you have 30 rounds, which replenish unless you're not hitting targets. And the bottled lightning is more so for mobbing, but you're going to see here, can actually do some pretty silly stuff if you continually keep hitting bosses, because the energy, yeah, will knock you down, too. That's another thing. So yeah, you got to be a little bit careful with this one, but if you're honestly continuously hitting the target with this, it can be pretty crazy for mobbing, because those balls are going to just destroy everyone. I know it's hard to really see what's happening here, but it's melting the boss. And here's the disc jockey. So with this one, it'll actually bounce around multiple times. So this is a little bit more challenging, but if you can get really lucky with the bounces, this can be pretty crazy, as you, again, unlimited ammo is very nice on here. And here's the Atling gun that we started off with, but with a cryo version of it, which has, as you can see, obviously very high damage. And we're just absolutely shredding everything with this. So yeah, that's a crazy turret Ordnance Amon build in Borderlands 4. You look so funny holding that. Very powerful, as you saw there. It shreds through every single boss in the game, and it seems pretty much nerf proof. So we'll see when the latest updates come. But if you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Hope you have a great day, and we'll catch y'all in the next video.